This whole healthcare kabuki dance it's increasingly looking like a house of mirrors. You have the Republican, for example, yesterday, the whole Republican obstructionists routine. I'm starting to think that the Republicans actually might want the Senate bill, but they want to behave like they don't want the Senate bill because they don't want the Tea Partiers after them. But they're still, well, we'll see. But yesterday, for example, Bernie Sanders brought forward an amendment to the bill, to the Senate bill, that would actually have allowed it to be a single-payer health care bill. A wonderful thing. It would have saved the whole thing. Of course, he didn't have Harry Reid's support, but he would actually, you could argue that at a certain level, Harry Reid had to allow it to come forward. So Sanders comes to the floor of the Senate. He says, I would ask that the amendment be considered as read. The President of the Senate says, is there an objection? I'm not sure who was acting as President of the Senate at that moment. Thom, the senator, the physician, the obstetrician, the Republican, the right-wing member of the family, the religious cult in Washington, D.C., he says there is objection. Sanders, and may I ask why my friend from Oklahoma is objecting? Coburn, regular order, Mr. President. President, regular order is the reading of the amendment. In other words, Coburn is saying, read all 700 pages. So they start reading it, and this is basically shutting down the Senate. And, Bernie steps out for a few minutes and, is presumably talking with, I don't know who, Harry Reid, whatever, comes back and says, I withdraw my amendment to allow the Senate to continue work. And we'll get the whole story, tomorrow from Bernie, but just this little piece of this, Jim DeMint says if Reid won't slow down this debate, we'll do it for him. Right. And at the same time, now we've got Andy Stern from SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, the SEIU on one side with the Change to Win coalition, and AFL-CIO on the other side, not other side, but the two large institutions in organized labor now. Andy Stern, president of SEIU, coming out and saying, no, we're not behind this thing. It's the position that I took day before yesterday that basically was me and Howard Dean, and Arianna Huffington. There was just a few of us who were saying this. And now a lot of progressives are jumping on this bandwagon saying, this bill sucks. This thing is a giveaway to the health insurance industry. They wrote a large chunk of it. And by the way, it looks like it was actually, the broad sweeping outlines of it were actually a deal that was cut by the Obama White House back months ago, Rahm Emanuel and President Obama. And so, and in fact, the president is doing a full press court here, full court press. He goes on ABC News. President Obama told ABC News' Charles Gibson in an interview that if Congress does not pass, this is from ABC News, does not pass health care legislation that will bring down costs, the federal government will go bankrupt. Excuse me? Why not just roll back the Reagan tax cuts? If you're concerned about that, or raise Medicare, taxes to cover the Medicare costs. Although, there are some serious problems. As I said back during the Bush administration on this program when Medicare Part D was being passed in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning and arms were being twisted to push that thing through, the reason why the Republicans, the reason why Tom DeLay was pushing that so hard, or maybe it was Denny Hastert, it was Denny Hastert at that time, the reason why Denny Hastert was pushing that thing so hard, the reason why George Bush wanted Medicare Part D is it's Jude Wanniski's Two Santa Claus theory all over again. Give the American people what looks like a gift. We're going to give you drug coverage for Medicare. Isn't that wonderful? And at the same time, put a time bomb in it that the Democrats are going to have to deal with. Which is, oh, by the way, we're not going to let the government negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies for prices. Pentagon can negotiate so that, Pentagon hospitals all over the world, they get drugs at a discount. The Veterans Administration can negotiate. So the federal government actually can negotiate for drugs and the price of drugs. That little doctor's office down the street from the Capitol building where all the senators can go and all the members of Congress can go for their health care needs, should they need, they can negotiate for drug prices. But seniors on Medicare and the Medicare institution itself can't. So we've got about anywhere from $100 to $300 billion a year gift to Big Pharma, to Billy Tozen's organization. Billy Tozen, the congressman from Louisiana, who pushed through Medicare Part D and then resigned, actually had to get special permission from the U.S. House of Representatives to resign early to take his $2 million a year job as the head of pharma, which is what he's doing right now, the head of the pharmaceutical lobbying group that is making billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicare Part D. And as I pointed out at that time, and I've been saying on this program over and over again for a long, long time, Medicare Part D benefited the pharmaceutical industry and benefited the AARP, which supported it. And a lot of folks pulled out of AARP as a consequence of this. And it was sold to us as being a benefit to our parents and their generation and whatnot, and grandparents on Medicare. It was sold to us as being a benefit, but what it was a poison pill. And that poison pill is coming home to roost right now. And President Obama is saying, if we don't reform health care, we're going to go bankrupt. Well, there it is. It's the poison pill. But this bill, this Senate bill, is not going to fix that. And forcing 30 million Americans to buy health insurance from these gangsters with no public option and no opportunity to buy into Medicare it's not change we can believe in. Sorry. It wouldn't have helped your mother, Mr. President, when she had ovarian cancer and she was dying. When Stanley Dunham was dying, Stanley Ann, I guess she called herself Ann. The Republicans call her Stanley. That was her first name. But Ann Dunham, when Ann Dunham had gotten her Ph.D. and she was working for $30,000 a year for the USAID, she under today's rules, and there's a great blog about this. Where did it go? I have it here somewhere. Allison Kilkenny's blog, underreported. Great. She just takes the whole thing. She says, okay, let's take Obama's mom. She's the story that he's been using to sell health care. Let's take his mom, who died of ovarian cancer, and as Obama pointed out, was right up to the very end, and she had insurance, was right up to the very end having to deal with all the stuff, all the games the insurance companies were playing with her and her health care bills while she was in terrible pain from the ovarian cancer that killed her. Her mom would not be helped by this Senate bill. She would die. And she would have the same bills, the same problems and the same bills. This is a lousy bill. And yet you've got the White House out there trying to call Howard Dean a crazy, basically. I mean, that's what they're saying. They're using different words, but what they're saying is he's gone off the rails. And this all goes, frankly, in my opinion, what we're seeing right now is that the White House, that Rahm Emanuel is running the show. And the Rahm Emanuel is the same DLC Democrat, the same corporate that he always was. Rahm Emanuel, in private talks before the election, Emanuel and other top Democrats told their members they cannot allow the party's liberal wing to dominate the agenda over the next year. There you go. Have you heard about the president inviting the Progressive Caucus to come talk with him? No, neither have I. 16 minutes past the hour.